Hi, it's Peter Cronin here again with part 2 from our productivity survey for software companies. So part 1 we had a look at what were the actual results, what did we find. Now in this section what we want to do is basically give you a bit of advice, some practical things you could go and implement in your business this afternoon, or this morning if you're watching this video in the morning, that can actually get you some benefits towards the we didn't talk about issues, the things we talked about in part 1. So we're focused on a couple of things that are high impact that have a big difference on your productivity and you can get started with quite easily. So the first one we're looking at is, it does assume you've got a sprint board or a Kanban board of some sort. If not, tip 1, go read up on those and use those. Whether you're running sprints or not, at least break your work down into something with a backlog and something with a not started and a in progress and a done. To the very least, get a bit of visibility over that. Whether you use Trello for it or you use a whiteboard or post-it notes, whatever. So assuming you do have one of these boards and you've got it broken down into, you might have backlog and all that sort of thing as well, but we won't worry about that. Right now we're looking at things that are actually ready for people to get started on. So you've got not started, you've got your in progress, and of course you're done. Now some of you have things like testing and this broken down into the board, but again we're looking at the simple version. You can adjust this to whatever board you have. So right now you've probably got just these 3 sections, and you'll have a bunch of, let's say using post-it notes, you'll have a bunch of things in each of these. Now, done is done, so we won't worry about that one. But what we find gives a big increase in visibility is taking these 2 sections here and breaking them down to observe the passage of time. Which sounds a bit nerdy, but basically what we want to do is we want to see how things are being completed as time progresses. The problem with this is there's no visualization of how long it's been sitting there. Now maybe you've got a sprint, most companies are running 2-week sprints if they do, and so it's somewhere in that 2-week sprint, but you don't know whether it's taking too long. Now I don't mean too long as in it's overdue, I mean too long as in it's unreasonable for work of that type to have taken this much time. But how are you going to get visibility of that? If you're an experienced team leader, you might have a gut feeling for things that are like that, but it's very unlikely that your team will, which means that you're probably spending a lot more time firefighting than you need to because they aren't reacting to it. So what we do is we take these sections and we break them down into, let's say we're doing a 2-week sprint. So we've got 10 business days in the sprint. We break this down into 10 columns. Simple as that. And what you do is you take a card once it's ready to be worked on, and you put it on the board, or you put them here, and as they progress with time, each day you move them over. So each day you come in and you move every card, so you've got one here say, over 1 slot, from based on when it first came in. This is also a great cue to have if you're having stand-up meetings, which I recommend you do as well, 5 minutes each morning for everybody to talk about the key things they're working on today. It lets you see how long these things are taking to progress. So if you've got a big bulk of things that haven't been moved to the done pile, sitting in here, you know you've got a problem. Because you're not going to get to those on time. Things are starting to take too long. Either your sprint's going to run over, or just in general, progress is going to slow down on your project. So that's where you want to focus first. You want to focus on these things that are starting to take too long. And hopefully the rest of the team can get involved in that as well. I won't go into it here, but the next step on this would be to break these up by resources or allocate staff to each of these. So you've got a rough idea of who's working on what, if you haven't done that already. Okay, So that's the first tip. That will give you great visibility over the workflow, and therefore you can react better, and you can teach your teams to react better, so you don't have so much firefighting and things to do, and it will flow more smoothly. All right. So for our second thing you can go away and do straight away is to have a look at what bottlenecks are actually constraining the output of your teams. So this is a little bit more strategic. You want to go ahead and look at what is basically taking the longest amount of time in any process. In any series of steps in any process, there's going to be a bottleneck of some sort. Now by bottleneck, we mean the resource that takes the longest, and therefore slows down or constrains the process as a whole, which I'll explain in a second. It's key to note there'll be one in each process. So sometimes you hear about people going around and debottlenecking and they're looking for lots of constraints in the organisation. In this step we're looking for one, because there's always going to be one bottleneck. As you can imagine with a real bottle, if you had two bottlenecks of different widths, then the skinnier width bottleneck would actually be constraining the flow out of the bottle, and the fatter one wouldn't really be doing anything. So let's say, very, very simplified process here, we might have design, and then we have coding, we have testing, let's say we've got review before testing, testing. Alright, and if we look at the average week, whatever chunk size of work you have, now these numbers aren't going to be accurate to your organisation, I'm just using them as an example. Let's say your design team, however many people you've got on that, whatever it is, can design 12, let's call them features, chunks of work, features. 12 features a week. And your coding team can get through 8 features a week. And your review team can get through, say, 16 reviews of features a week. And finally, your testing team can get through 4 a week. Now, there's no point spending a lot of time giving more resource to these processes or working on massive process improvements or anything when this flow as a whole cannot get faster than 4 features out a week. So you're best to focus on here. Now, before you go just adding more resource to that, you want to start by looking at what you can do in this team to help them improve their processes. And it might be getting some people down earlier upstream to take things off them, or to review things more carefully, or add more notes, or whatever it is to increase the tester's ability to test. Because if you increase that from a 4 to a 6 a week, then you're going to get an increase in 50% more productivity in this team, just from that one step. So there's a lot of focus on, we just want everything to go better. Sure, but you're going to get the most benefit if it's coming out of whatever is constraining as the bottleneck of your processes. Let's say if it was coding, you should put the effort into coding. So you want to look for, basically you can look at the backlog. If you've got some sort of visibility of what the backlog is, it's likely to tell you where your bottleneck is. Now there's a fantastic book by Clark Ching on this. It's called The Bottleneck Rules. It's a very concise book about identifying your bottleneck and managing to it to massively increase your productivity or your output of the team or the business. So definitely recommend checking that out. And at the time of this video, we're actually giving it away for free on our website. So I encourage you, of course, to jump on there and get a copy. But otherwise, it's available on Amazon, and it's probably the best per page book you'll ever read for your business. So I recommend getting that. Right, so this in conjunction with the step we looked at earlier of breaking down your the Kanban board or sprint board, whatever you want to call it, and applying that to your business should give you some big benefits there. So I hope this video is helpful, and if you've got any questions about it, of course, get in touch with me or anyone at Viago. Cheers.